Hey folks, I could not decide what to say to start this episode of Amy and TJ because I was so concerned about making a good impression on our in-studio guest today.
That makes a lot of sense.
And with that, welcome to Amy and TJ. Really, I got nothing. That's how I'm starting.
Seriously?
I got nothing. That was it.
Wow. Are you nervous?
I am nervous. I'm sitting here. My heart is pumping. I always get a little nervous before we start any broadcast of any kind my whole career. I used to actually put my hand out and make sure I was shaking a little bit, making sure I was a little nervous. Don't ever want to get too comfortable and too cool and think you got it. I am nervous today.
You want to tell listeners why?
Well, I would only compare it to the first podcast we did that aired on December 5th.
Oh, yeah.
I would argue this is as nervous as I've been.
Really?
Because of our guests. Yes.
Wow.
And I had some options, folks, about what. We start every podcast, and you say you start, right?
Yes.
You always want me to start.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because you're a better starter than me.
But how so? What do I do at the beginning that you find is?
Well, you usually have like a card up your sleeve. And so you have something funny or something provocative or something just to kind of shake me up a little bit to make it interesting.
Okay. I had some things. Here's my problem. I'm serious. I had some options. I didn't like any of them enough because I was trying to make it perfect. Because you go too far. Some of the best advice I ever got was don't let perfect get in the way of good. And today I let perfect get in the way of it, and I got nothing.
Wait, but you texted me earlier this morning saying, I got it. Because you're always trying to figure out how you're starting. And so you
let me
texted
explain.
me, I got it.
Okay. So this is what I'm going to tell you. This is why I got it. Because instead of just starting with something, I'm going to give you the 4 options. I had 4 options for how to start this podcast in which our guests are your parents. 4 options. And folks, if you can hear the sound of my voice, and I don't know if it's trembling or not, but sitting about 8 inches to my right is Amy Robachs' mother in this studio. A woman that I have spent a lot of time with over the years and have had a good time with, stayed at her home, all this. But today I'm nervous. Why would that make sense?
Because you want to impress her.
Okay, there it is.
And that's good.
And that's good. Okay. Here am I, and you all help me. So this is my option 1, Rose, how I was going to start the podcast. Was, hello, folks. Making a good impression on your partner's parents. I'm about to teach a master class.
Oh,
did you like that one? Did you like that?
That's cocky. That's cocky.
Okay. Okay. So I'm glad I didn't go with that one. The other, hello, folks. They deserve admiration for being married 52 years. They deserve sainthood for raising Amy Robach.
Whoa! Shot across the bow.
Okay. I'm glad I didn't go with those 2.
Yep.
Okay. Number 3. This was a little heavier. Hey, folks. We worried about what the world thought about us, but all we really wanted was the acceptance of the 2 people in the studio with us.
That's nice.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one but nobody reacted emotionally and heavily. That didn't work.
Yeah. Maybe it felt like you were pandering or something.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Good point. Glad I didn't go. This is the last one. Hey, folks, I haven't asked for permission or the blessing to marry Amy Robach, but the 2 people I need to ask are our guests today.
Wow.
Well, that was provocative.
You like that one?
Yeah, that's the one.
And this is why I didn't use any of them.
Why don't we ask the guests next to you what they thought or which one they would pick?
Yes, folks, we have Mama Robach and Papa Robach in studio with us. Hey, gang, welcome. How y'all doing?
TJ.
It's good to have y'all. Hello. Yes.
Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad are in the building.
Noni and Pop, as they're affectionately called in our house. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Are you all nervous?
If it's just talking about you, no.
No, we want to talk about you.
No, that's what we don't want to do.
Dad?
Let me ask, should we be nervous?
No, I don't think I told you all before we started that there's not a question we're going to ask that you don't know the answer to.
All right.
I assure you. But I do want to say congrats. Isn't the anniversary coming up in a couple of weeks, right?
Mhm.
52 years. 50, is that right?
Right? It'll be 52 years,
Okay.
July 1st.
Anybody listening is in a relationship. You hear somebody's been together for 50 years. You always want to ask, what is the secret? How do you do it? They want to have something to help their relationship last that long. What do you got?
I always answer this question first, so I'm going to let you do it today.
Oh, you're going to let me answer it first. Oh, wow. That's turning the tables. So, all right. There is no secret. How's that? It's making a decision every day that you are in love with someone and you were in love with them we've been in love for a long time, and every day it's a decision. I'm going to love this person, and we are going to continue going through life together.
That sounds kind of ominous that you have to redecide every morning.
It's positive affirmation.
Okay, I will do it again one more day.
Oh my God.
One day more. It's like from Les Miserables.
Oh my God. Wait, you disagree? You don't think of it the same way?
No, I don't.
Wow.
No.
Okay. How
I
do
just
you
think
see it?
I have massive attraction to this man. Always have.
So
Very
simple as
wow.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the attraction motivates you to continue.
Yes, absolutely. When he turns like 85, it's going to be a little tough, but I'll be 85 too. So
Okay, now this is something she explained this. Your whole people who are familiar with Robachs see her in great shape, and she's 51, but she has great genes. Like, you all are freaking amazing. And like you said, you say when he's 85. I mean, I bet when he's 85, he's going to look pretty damn good
he's
as
going
well.
to be mowing the lawn.
Right? It's still at 85. So how much of that, I mean, for you all is just genes, genetics, your family, that help people maybe understand why Robach has the genes she has?
I agree. Both my parents lived until their 90s. My dad was 98.
Yeah, my mom was 91. I had grandfather that was 98 and a grandmother 96. So a lot of people lived into their 90s. So yeah, I think we have good genes for longevity.
Longevity? Well,
Longevity.
I look at that as, TJ, does that scare you? Because I'm not dying anytime soon. You're stuck with me for a long, long time.
But that's a good thing, and we talk about this some. I hate to turn it on but your health, right? When you talk about you're a breast cancer survivor, and to think that every 6 months, every year, you have to get a report that says whether or not you got another 6 months or another year, that is terrible. And it makes you live a certain way. But I appreciate the health that you're in.
Okay,
You're as healthy as you are. You're as active as you are. This is great.
All right.
It's good to see them. I see your family. You got good genes.
Yep, it's true. I mean, and my whole life, my parents would walk into the newsroom when I was 22, and they were 41, right? Because they're 19 years older than me. And they were 19 when they had me. But my whole life, everyone, their jaw drops when they see my parents because A, they are young, but they also look really young and good for their age. So it's like a combo. But everyone, Dad, how many people thought we were married when we would like go somewhere together? It was so embarrassing. We had the same last name. We would go to a hotel together a couple of times, and we'd say, "Can we get the two twin beds?" And they would look at us. My dad's like, "This is my daughter," and nobody would believe. Like, no, like, please stop saying that. But
I've heard that a lot, but until the picture of you, it might have been your wedding day, but it is unbelievable. You should post that picture for people to see.
Because on the wedding when I was 23 years old, Dad, you were 42. Everyone, do you remember when we were getting ready? They all thought you were the groom. They all thought you were the groom, and that was so weird. But it
was even more weird for me.
Was it a compliment though? Has it always been a compliment that you've gotten? Is that, wow, you're only?
I don't know. I think when you're that age, it's not necessarily a compliment because you're trying to be taken serious. And I think sometimes people look at you as being young and maybe not as experienced as you are. So it wasn't always an advantage.
But for your marriage, for your wife,
Apparently.
it's a huge advantage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What was, did you have a son? Eric is how old? What's your brother?
He's 20 months younger than me. So he is, is he about to turn 50 this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He'll be 50,
He's turning
he'll be
50 in October.
I thought it was like 49.
Yeah.
Were there easy and obvious distinctions when you had these two kids? Did you see them? They were going to be going two different directions. Could you tell from very early on they were just different?
Absolutely.
Really?
I mean, Amy was go, 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 go. Never stop. Banging on the door like, I want out of this cage that I'm in. And Eric was more, he'd have my skirt if we went to go shopping because he was like, look at all these people. Amy, here's what Amy would do. Walk into a store. Amy had learned a lesson that if you make a beeline for the customer service and you say, I'm lost, they give you candy. So I would even say, watch her because she's going to go running up there. And before we knew it, bam, you're up there with the lollipop smiling at us.
And then you'd hear the announcement.
Yes. There's a lost little girl. It's Amy. We
What
know it.
age was this?
Oh, you were like 3 or
That's when we first moved to Blacksburg
Yeah.
that you started doing it. Yeah, you would just take off. You were probably 2.5, 3 years old, and boom, you were right to the customer service counter asking for someone to call your parents because you were lost, and they'd give you a lollipop, and you were happy.
Yeah.
That is that's a sociopath. What is what? How are you at 2 and 3? You possess enough intel to manipulate a system that way at 2 or 3.
I was motivated by sugar
Uh-huh.
Jeez.
and attention because I'm sure they all were like, "Oh, poor little girl, where's your mommy and daddy?" I'm guessing. I don't know. I have no memory of this.
So what would you? Was it attention?
I would say number 2. First was the lollipop.
Yeah.
Number 2 was she was just had a little bit of a flair for the dramatic. I'm just
Ugh,
saying.
sister.
So she did like to kind of be in the spotlight.
Oh wow.
What Eric
Yeah.
never did. He was pulled back more.
Oh wow. We're peeling this thing back,
Oh,
aren't
no.
we? Layer by layer.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, we should get Amy to do some of her cute little songs and dances that we taught you when you were little.
yeah, no, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a video somewhere. The girls were trying to pull them up and show them to TJ the other day. I was like, please stop, please stop.
Oh,
please
the
stop.
pageant stuff.
Yes, they were trying to show.
Which is online.
Yes, it's.
I mean, I'm not going to post a link,
please don't.
but it is Googleable.
And my daughters, I think, I don't even think they let 2 weeks go by without all of a sudden they'll just play it and they'll start laughing because they'll know that I get upset. I'm like, please turn that off now. Yes. Even things you did before the internet now can live forever online. And I found this out the hard way.
But who is she more like between you two, would you say?
Oh, that's a good question. She's definitely a combination of the two of us. I mean, her musical talent and her artistic talent, her creative talent comes from her mother, not from me, that's for sure. I think maybe her wanderlust attitude comes from me. I mean, I traveled a lot for work over the years, and I think Amy, has kind of had that same sense of adventure by going out. But from a creative side, it's totally on her mom's side.
Is that right?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but when dad traveled around the world, always when I was growing up. So the one thing, some people have boxes of memorabilia. I have a shoebox. And my shoebox memorabilia of my childhood consists of my gymnastics medals and the stickers and money that my dad would come back from around the world. So we had like currency from all the different countries he would go to. And I put them in baggies and I labeled them. And I have all the like little stickers you could get at the airport, that you come back. And so that's my memorabilia. Why are you looking like that?
No, I cannot believe how much I'm learning about you. And no, I know a lot about you, and I'm probably know you better than like anybody outside of these two and your daughters. I
Right.
would probably argue. I did not know about the customer service thing. That is blowing my mind right now.
Does it ring true?
About you, the candy, no. The attention, yes.
Yes.
The flair for the dramatic, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. But does she get that from either one of you? The flair for the dramatic?
I think guilty is charged
Okay.
right here.
Okay.
I was thinking you were going to own that. Yeah.
But do you want her, and Mama Robach, I hear this from you, I think it's time, or at least she passes it along, that wanderlust, the travel, the adventure and whatnot, you would like for her to sometimes just sit the hell down, stop for a second.
Yeah, 1,000 times,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, when she's climbing, and then she send me videos or climbing on the very edge of a mountain that's just death below, and she's just walking along on like a 2-inch platform. I don't want to see that, and I don't even want to know.
I was
she's doing
secured,
that.
by the way, with ropes, just so you know.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was tethered to a guide who knew better than
Okay,
me
well,
how
that
to
makes
do
me
it.
feel better.
Yes.
Her point remains. You're still hanging off the side of a mountain with dental floss, essentially.
Yeah, I know. And I have slowed down. It was not something that I chose, but I know that that's part of all of what's happened in the last year and a half that I know you have, I think, expressed to me that that's one of the good things that's happened, that I've settled down. I've been still. And I was forced to.
Right.
And now I'm in a pattern where I'm with the person who I want to be with. I'm not searching as much. I think I was always searching for something. And it's not that I don't still have that adventurous spirit. I absolutely do. But I do feel very different about how I approach what fun is, what excitement is. So I think really, honestly, watching a movie with him on the couch is like as exciting as it gets. And that's where I am right now. And it's a very different place than I was before.
Right. Yeah. Before, she never would stop. I mean, if we would come to visit her, it's like I'm exhausted after 2 days because we're just, running everywhere in the city. So, but I've noticed, you definitely stopped that. You're slowing down.
But did you all, over the years, see it as her, she has that sense of adventure you talked about, Papa Robach, but did you all get a sense that there was something else to it than just adventure, that she was ripping and running and moving and, I don't want to say running from something, but there was something else motivating her to be adventurous?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially when you can look at things in, retrospect, that she was definitely looking for outlets that would be almost distractions from maybe what was going on, in her life. So I think those adventures, sure, some of them were work related and you enjoyed them, but some of them were, I think, escapism to an extent. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we definitely saw that.
Yeah, no, that's all true. And I think like what you're saying is in retrospect. When you're doing it, you don't realize why you're doing it. You just know you need to do it. Like you feel almost a compulsion to do it because you need to constantly not be where you are, to not actually let anything that's a problem, you don't have to deal with it if you just distract yourself with other things. And I think, funny enough, with cancer, it almost it put everything, I think, on hyperspeed. It went into it's almost like it was like what I already had, and then put steroids, onto it, and then all of a sudden now I'm running out of time. And so that all, I think, made for the last decade a very wild, busy, nonstop life.
It always felt like you were running away from something, not running towards something.
Yeah.
So I knew what you were doing, but I couldn't tell you. You had to figure it out yourself.
Last season, millions tuned into the Betrayal podcast to hear a shocking story of deception. I'm Andrea Gunning, and now we're sharing an all-new story of betrayal. Stacy thought she had the perfect husband. Doctor, father, family man. It was the perfect cover for Justin Rutherford to hide behind.
They led me into the house, and it was like a movie. He was sitting at our kitchen table. The cops were guarding him.
Stacy learned how far her husband would go to save himself.
I slept with a loaded gun next to my bed.
He did not just say, "I wish he was dead." He actually gave details and explained different scenarios on how to kill him.
He, to me, is scarier than Jeffrey Dahmer.
Listen to Betrayal on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. More better.
Hey, I'm Melissa Fumero.
And I'm Stephanie Beatriz. You may know us from television.
9. And now we're here with our very own podcast, More Better with Stephanie and Melissa.
We've known each other for thousands of years.
And we've been through it all together.
And we are totally killing it. We are literally the best.
No notes. Life is great.
None of that was true. JK. Join us on our excellent adventure as we take on topics like listening to yourself. There were a lot of red flags, and it did take me 8 years to get there, but I got there.
The challenge of self-care.
This is important because now you're about to be a mom of 2 kids.
And making friends as an adult.
We're going to share our struggles.
Just white-knuckling through life, babe. We're going to speak to experts.
And we're going to share everything we learn with you.
Listen to More Better with Stephanie and Melissa as part of the Michael Duda Podcast Network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Rachel Martin. You probably know how interview podcasts with famous people usually go, right? There's a host, a guest, and a light Q&A. On NPR's new podcast, Wild Card, we have ripped up the typical script. It's part existential deep dive and part game show. I ask actors, artists, and comedians to play a game using a special deck of cards to ask some of life's biggest questions. Listen to NPR's Wildcard on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Advise, because a lot of parents listening, how do you sit by? How difficult is it to sit by? How do you comfort or counsel a child when she's at that point, an adult and a strong one, a strong-minded one? How do you, if you sit back and you really think somebody's making a mistake or doing something wrong, or how do you support without also ruining the relationship by saying, no, you shouldn't be doing that? Or how do you strike that balance? Especially with somebody with this.
Saying no to Amy never worked.
Never worked.
So, so we have some stories we could tell. But no, I think
he should tell the door.
Oh,
story.
we're getting to the door.
Okay. We'll get to the door.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, I think that at least the way that I think we approached it was by continuing to love her and to let her know that we loved her. And then also by setting an example in the way that we conduct ourselves and the way that we live our lives. And that, to me, and then we participated in a lot of these adventures.
Dad climbed Kilimanjaro with me.
So we did things together that I believe demonstrates, the way that you feel and the way that we modeled our lives or lived our lives. We were hoping would be an example, and that the light bulb will come on at some point in time.
But it's kind of not fair because we found each other when we were 17. And so we didn't want to judge you because that's not our job anyway. But in private, were we disappointed that your life was kind of crazy? And yeah, we were disappointed, but only for you, not for ourselves. So we just love Amy very, very much. So we just loved her. We tried to love her. I don't know if you always felt like we were loving you, but that's what we were trying to do.
No, I always felt loved. Always.
Good.
And I knew that you didn't love the way I was operating, but I knew you loved me.
Yes, always, always, always.
Well, how did you deal, Robes? Then, right, they loved you, but there was some point. I mean, I deal with my parents, and look, your parents are always so proud of you.
Yes.
And want to hold you up, but then when things kind of crumble or you make mistakes, you're so worried about disappointing your parents.
Oh my God, yes, that's such a huge part of it, and especially with what happened a year and a half ago. The crazy thing is, everything happened on the day my mom and dad, we talked about this, came to New York. So that was like such just a gut punch. It was already crazy to have the tabloids saying what they were saying, but it all broke on the day my mom and dad were flying to New York.
Previously scheduled.
They were already here going to a Christmas party, yes. One of my dad's work events. And so, yes, to have them see, like, not just hear how it was going or read what was happening, but to actually be in this city when everything all went to hell. And you all were there when the paparazzi descended on my apartment and saw everything firsthand. And I hated that for you, that you got caught up in this just worst case scenario situation and you were there to witness it all, because I could only imagine, as painful as it was for me, how hard it would be if it were my daughters going through that. Like, to have it happen to you is one thing, to have it happen to your child is a whole other thing. And when you're a parent, you understand that. So I was actually then feeling awful for my daughters and for my parents while this was all happening.
We were fine. We were just worried about you and what's the best way to show you that we loved you. And it took us some while to think through, how do we show her we love her without scolding her, saying, I told you, you shouldn't have done this or done that. Amy knows what I'm talking about.
Told you so.
So, Mama Robach, this it's past now. Do you all has she actually expressed that to you? Or I would can't imagine you all ever looked at her at any point in the past year and a half and said, I told you so. Right. And that's not is you all's lane to do.
We would
right?
never say that. I would never say that to Amy. No.
But you could see it in our eyes.
No,
I'm kidding.
No. Actually, it's funny. It's funny. I've gone. This isn't the first I don't even want to say mistake. I would just, I hate to say the end of a marriage is a mistake. It isn't always a mistake. In fact, sometimes it's what the right thing is to do, and you learn a lot through it. Funny enough, with everything that's happened in the last 2 years, I've never felt more supported by the two of you than I was this past year and a half, more so than any other moment in my life.
You know what she did, both of you all, she did say this several times. Her relationship with her parents is the best she can remember in a long time. She has said that several times in the past year and a half. That is true. She absolutely has.
Yes, I felt the love, I felt the support, and I didn't feel judged.
Good.
At all.
Well, do some get lucky? You said you all found each other at 17. Did you all just get lucky and other people don't get that lucky and certainly not that early? Or is it something more about the way you all are built, that you all made a decision that you all are going to be together these 52 years? Most of us are looking like, I found the one, or looking for the one, and soulmate, all this kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say we were lucky. It's kind of by chance that we met. We met at church, and actually we've known each other since we were, 12 years old, and we're both from big Catholic families, and so Joan's family would sit on one side of the church with her 8 brothers and sisters, and then I would sit on the other side with my 5 brothers and sisters, and over time, we went to CCD, so we were going to religious education, and we got to know each other. We went to different high schools, different junior highs and different high schools, so we didn't see each other every day. And we, over time, noticed each other, and always glancing over at her with her cute little cheerleading outfit on, I asked her out on a date, and I'll tell you, when I first called for the first date, I dialed her number. I was downstairs with one of my friends, and he's kind of giggling while I'm doing this, and I said, "Hi, Joan, this is Mike," and the answer comes back, "Mike who?"
Well played, Mom.
I knew lots of Mikes. I did. It's like, which Mike are you? Oh. No, but when he told me, I was like, that's the Mike that I would want to hear from.
And the rest is history?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the first date, I couldn't drive yet, so I was not quite yet.
Oh, yeah, that was
I was
bad.
Not quite yet 16, so I didn't have a driver's license. So my dad had to drive us over, pick you up, and take us to a dance at the high school, and then take us home, and then take me home. So it was not exactly the way you might envision a first date with your dad driving.
Yeah.
So
no kiss at the front door.
yeah,
No.
exactly.
I always remember some of the sweet stories I heard, and I think maybe I took for granted how special you all were from the very beginning, because it just kind of, when you see that your whole life, I was raised with a lot of love, and I saw you all, your relationship was always remarkable to me, my friends, and I would be grossed out at your public displays of affection. When I was in high school, it was so embarrassing. I was like, oh my gosh, keep your hands off each other. Oh, it was so, I think that's why, part of the reason why I said I didn't like PDA, because I was like, ew. But anyway, I can look at it now and say,
I had no
that's
idea
remarkable.
we did that, did you?
Oh yeah, you guys would chase each other around the house, giggling and laughing, and
when you were in high school?
yes, yes, all the time you'd be kissing. Oh, it's awesome now. At the time, it did not seem awesome, but it's incredible now, especially with all the life I've lived. I'm blown away by it. But I remember hearing these stories about Dad. He had a very strict father. My grandpa was a tough man, and he would get in trouble for whatever reason, and he would lose car privileges. And I remember Mom telling me, or Dad explaining that he would have to run over the bridge separating your two towns, and run, how many miles was it, Dad?
It was about 3.5 4 miles.
To see Mom, and then run back that was the way they could see each other if he was in trouble. But I remember Mom kind of saying the same thing to me. She said, find a guy who will run 3.5 miles to see you, to be with you, no matter what. Like, if a man likes you, if you're with the right person, he will walk on water to get to you.
And that's when my mom fell in love with him. When she would see him run over, and she was like, go get him some water. Get his shirt off and put it in the dryer. I mean, it's just, yeah.
You were no. You were literally making a 3-mile run to her.
Yes.
You didn't walk
Yes.
it. You didn't
No,
go-
no,
You ran.
no, I ran.
Wow.
No, I ran.
And to remind folk, you ran your first marathon at what age? Was it
54.
54.
It's pretty cool, right? Dad and I were talking about this today or last night, because I was thinking like, oh, I don't know how many more marathons I have in me. And my dad said, remember, I ran my first marathon at 54.
And your last one, Berlin, was what you were at? What?
69.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. That was a really, really cool way to, if you don't really run anymore, right, Dad?
Not much. I just had my right hip replaced about 2 months ago.
There you go. So it's not a sport or a passion you can continue for the rest of your life, unfortunately, for most people.
I think
But-
he'll find a way. He's going to get the other one done, and then I
Really?
suspect he's going to be out the door.
Well, fun
No marathons though.
Well, fun story though, Dad, because you came to cheer me on the first New York City. It's the first marathon I ever ran, was the New York City Marathon, and you, I think, got a little bit of the running bug back in you, and you went and got your knees replaced, right, so that you could then run in Berlin. Am I wrong?
No, I didn't get my knees replaced. I had meniscus surgery.
Okay,
so,
sorry.
yeah.
Whatever. That was a little bit more dramatic. See, I am dramatic. But you had a surgery because you were remotivated to run again, and then I convinced you.
Well, if
to
you
run the Berlin
if you
Marathon.
remember, after that marathon, we went down to that beer hall in Soho.
Yes.
And everybody was, going papa, let's run Berlin, and I inadvertently said okay. And so
That's one of the reasons why I love some liquid courage every now and then. Yes, that was at Houston Hall. Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that, and we made the plan
That's
to do
right.
Berlin. The pandemic happened, so we had to wait a year. But I remember just being so impressed, and even now, as I'm 51, but thinking about 69. If I want to complain about aching this or that, I think about what you did in Berlin. It's remarkable.
How is the hip now? You feel better? All good? And
the right hip, which has been replaced, has no pain at all, and the left hip will be replaced soon.
Wow.
He's got like 16. He will have 16-year-old hips, and he's like, I feel like I'm a kid. So
16-year-old. Which I'm sure you appreciate that he has 16-year-old hips.
I would like to get 16-year-old hips.
And Mom, I know you're recover. How are you doing? Because you also took a nasty fall.
Yeah, it was the worst pain that I've ever been in my life, for several reasons that I won't get into now. I fell while I was standing straight up, and I fell and hit my shoulder and my head. And as soon as I did, I thought, I did something really bad here. So I had to crawl to the back door because he's outside, and I'm just yelling, help. Finally,
That's when you need the "I've fallen and I can't get out" button.
Oh, we talked about.
I can't believe you don't have one of those, Mom. You guys
He'd
are
like
getting to a
get me
certain
one.
age.
Yeah, exactly. So he came in, and I remember he was saying, "Okay, let's get. I'll help you into the car. I'll go to the emergency room." And I just said, "Ambulance, ambulance." That's all I kept repeating. And then when they came in, I was like, "Pain reliever." So they gave. I didn't realize they could do it, but they did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you always, has Robach always been, is it, I don't think you're accident prone, but she's always ends up in the hospital for some reason. But it's always a big reason. It's not like I nicked a finger. It's like
I have cancer.
I have cancer, or
I have a teratoma.
Yeah, it's something serious.
Yeah.
Has she always
need heart
had
surgery.
been in and out and had issues, medical? No.
When she was a little girl, no, she
okay.
didn't have any. But as she got older, but yeah, when you talk about the time that you called Eric to tell him that you had a teratoma and what his response was.
Yes. So, by the way, I don't think I was ever in the hospital before I had a baby, just so you know.
That's
so
true.
I wasn't accident prone.
It's their fault.
Yes, they started a whole, yes, you're right. We can get into that later, but you're right.
It's always the kid's fault.
Right. So my brother's a doctor, and I found out that they told me I had a teratoma and I had to have surgery. And I didn't know what it was. Did we have Google back then?
No.
I don't think so. So I called Eric, and he started laughing so hard. I was like, why are you laughing? He's like, because if you go to medical school, this is the one thing that is the grossest, nastiest, weirdest tumor you can possibly have. And he was saying this through tears of laughter, as a brother would and does. He thought it was the funniest thing. And I was like, wait, but like, this isn't that unusual, right? He's like, no, it actually is really rare. And I said, well, what is so awful about this tumor? and he could barely get it out. It has like teeth and eyeballs and hair. Like it's like warped DNA that's gone awry and it's growing inside of you. And he could barely speak. He was laughing so hard.
You should see our producer's face in the room as
ridiculous.
you're describing this.
Yeah, it's
Have
disgusting.
if you know, I sing the horror movie *Malignant*. Have you seen it? Okay,
there's a teratoma.
There's a teratoma.
But the thing is, this one was growing on a main vein on my ovary, and so they were worried it was growing rapidly. So if it twisted, that was the concern. It can actually cut off your blood supply, and you can drop dead. So
Did
I
it
had
have
to have
blonde hair.
I don't. You know what? So
blonde?
here's the deal. I was freaked out once my brother told
Did
me
it have
that.
blue eyes?
Stop. My co-anchor at the time, I was at MSNBC, and I happened to be pregnant with Anna at the same time. So we had to wait.
There you go.
Like 6 months before I could get They had to wait. They had to measure it every 3 weeks because if it got big enough, they were going to have to go in for surgery while I was pregnant, which is dangerous. So they wanted to wait, obviously, until I had the baby. So the whole time, both of these things were growing inside of me, and my co-anchor, Randy Meyer, said he named him Mobley. He goes, "How's Mobley doing?" And I was like, "Can you stop?" So I have told Annalise she had an evil twin brother growing next to her. No, it's all funny, but I asked the doctor when they took it out.
Did you see it?
I didn't want to. Eric asked me to have them take it, and he'd like to put it in a jar.
Did you see it?
No.
You never got to see it?
I was so freaked out. I didn't want to look. They told me, they assured me it didn't have teeth.
Oh,
They were lying, honey.
it was.
I was like, just tell me it didn't have teeth or
Really? You never
eyeballs.
saw-
No, I didn't want to see
Killed
it. I
to
was
see that.
freaked
Oh my
out.
God.
We were planning for another grandchild, actually.
I don't know anyone else who's had a teratoma either, so it's so embarrassing. Yes, I know when I go into NYU for, you go in for the checkups, I think I've had several doctors say, wow, you have a very interesting, you have a very interesting life. You've had a lot of procedures that are very unusual.
No, for you all, did you all think, and still sitting here, think that so many of the issues she's had medically over the years were absolutely related to the way she was living, how she was working, the stress she was under? Do you think those two things are related?
We did, but specific things like a teratoma or your heart problem, I would contribute to, but I didn't know. It made sense that it was your extremely busy life, your migraine headaches.
Yeah.
Yes.
And cancer.
Unhappiness.
Let's not forget
and,
cancer.
And then, yeah, I'm getting there. There's a lot to go through. No, but some of the things, you couldn't help. I mean, but maybe your heart procedure could have sure been exacerbated by stress.
Yeah.
But no, we always were there.
Well, you always said to me, Amy, slow down. You said that to me all the time. And I was like, never going to happen. Look at me now. Yeah, I couldn't sit still.
But you're part of you had to sit still for a year. We had
to sit still for a year.
But now are you ready to get to be crazy again? I call it crazy. You're adventurous, but is there some part about you that you now feel settled or calm in some way? Because anytime you say it to me, I'm like, oh, well, she's with me now. I don't want that part of you to be gone just because you're in a relationship with me.
You've said that a couple of times. I've joked, I missed some hiking, but it's really not the end of the world. The truth is, it's crazy that this dramatic, unthinkable situation was the catalyst for me to actually find peace, which seems strange and maybe the opposite of what you think would happen, but I'm feeling peace. I feel joy in a different way. It's not because I'm being stimulated or I'm attaining or achieving something. See, I think a lot of it was all about what I can climb that mountain. And I love crossing a finish line, but the joy came from accomplishment and the getting there, like getting the goal, created the distraction from dealing with my life. So yes, I was forced to sit and be quiet and think about my choices, how I've acted, how I operate, and realize that none of it was working. And I've been doing, and I'll continue hopefully for the rest of my life, to do that deep searching and realize that joy comes from within. It doesn't come from outside sources. And that's what I think I was always trying to avoid. And I'm still working on it. But being with the right person absolutely creates a balance, and it gives you that safety. When you feel safe, you can relax. And I don't think I ever felt that way before. Now.
Yeah, I totally agree. Safety to me is one of them. I've got a lot of them, but one of the reasons that I love being with Mike is I've always felt safe with him. And I think I've talked to other women about it, and almost at the top 2 or 3 things that they say why they're in a relationship or married, because they feel safe now.
Yeah,
that's
emotionally
true.
safe.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever really realized how important that was. I always felt like I'm all about, it's got to come from me. I'm the one who has to be whole. I'm the one who has to create my own balance in my life. But the dynamics you have with people absolutely affects your inner psyche in a lot of ways. And to say that it doesn't is not being truthful. It absolutely does. So yes, we can do our own work, but who we surround ourselves with is very important.
And I want to go back. I don't think I've actually asked you all in private this.
So now you're going to do it in public?
Yeah, I guess so.
Why not?
Maybe I should wait. But I say that because to be honest, once we get together and we hang out, we usually like to talk about other stuff. We don't want to go back and talk about the dark days, if you will. But going back to November 30th of 2022, when that article came out, you all were sitting in a different position from the public in that you all at least had a handle on, you knew divorce was happening. You all had known that for months.
Yes.
At this point. So you all were already getting adjusted to the idea she's going to be going through a divorce. There are going to be changes coming.
Yeah, we were totally adjusted to that one.
Okay, so let me start with that first. Just the idea and the thought, your reaction when knowing your daughter, again, you feel bad for her, but was going to be going through another divorce. Now, initially, how did you all take that news?
You mean news of the divorce?
Of the divorce, yes. So that was in summer of 2022.
That did not bother us at all. I mean, we had reconciled ourselves, and we had told Amy that we totally supported her in leaving that marriage. So that was not an issue at all for us.
So then the November 30th, the article comes out that that we are exposed that we were in a relationship. Now, how did you all, and just tell me how that initial reaction? Well, there was a lot of ways to go with that, because you could have been upset at what was happening to her publicly, upset about work, or upset that she would put herself in a position to be dating her co-anchor. So what was you all's reaction to that?
For me, it was, this is way too fast. You know, we would have much preferred that the divorce has been made known publicly and been finalized, before you all became a couple.
Yep.
I mean, that would have been our preference.
It was ours too, by the way. But yes, that makes sense.
But we were shocked. We were in the car, almost at the airport, and Amy sent us a link. Said, read this before you come, or something to that effect.
I just wanted you to hear it from me first before someone else texted you, or you just happened to see it. I wanted to make sure you knew I was letting you know what was going on.
Thank you. I read it aloud, and neither one of us said anything. Just like, I got nothing. And then we got in a plane, said nothing. Got back, checked into the hotel, said nothing.
Which is really rare. Yeah.
Because I think both of us were thinking, and we're also pretty strong Catholics, so we were also praying about how do we handle this right so that we don't hurt Amy's feelings and we don't hurt her. That was our number one goal. And so we took our time before we even approached you. You had invited us for dinner, and we said not tonight.
It scared me because normally you all have opinions right away. And so to not hear from you and to have you pass on dinner, I was like, I was panicked that night.
Well, we had an opinion. I
knew you did.
We had an opinion.
You were trying to.
We were praying about, how do we best communicate this, and how can we put ourselves in a position to show you our love and our support, but do it in a meaningful way.
And you did, because yes, that night, I woke up the next morning and I remember, Mom, you sent an incredibly thoughtful text. And I remember just feeling my whole body just relax. And from that moment on, I know you all prayed that night and you took your time, which is actually something that I need to always do better at, because to react verbally to how you're feeling emotionally is usually not ever a good thing. And when you can give yourself a beat where you pray, meditate, whatever it is you do to really take your time to choose your words and to think about what your intent is, what you want. I'm not great at that, but you all did that night. And
we're old, honey. We're a lot older than you are. So
not that much, just 19 years.
That's true.
But when you did respond, it was, and I don't like this word, but it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed to hear. And then from that moment on, you came over, because I went to work that day. And you came over, and the two of you were my rocks from that moment on. And I remember being so upset that you were in town when this was all happening. And then I remember the next day thinking, thank God they were here when all of this was happening. So that was everything. And so I actually, just hearing you retell that story, I'm constantly trying to remind myself, be better at not immediately responding. Take a beat. TJ's really good at that, I will say. But it's not my instinct, but it's the right thing to do.
Right. And for us to say, you know what, we really didn't talk about it the whole first day or night, because it's just like, we just didn't know what to say to you, even to each other.
Yeah.
So we both said, let's pray about it and see what happens and then the next day I got Mike out of a meeting and said, guess what? I know what we should say now. And yep, this is like answer. So
I think you had a divine revelation.
I do too.
You know, I truly do believe that. Yeah, it was a divine revelation that you had, that you told me about.
Did you say you text a link to them?
I think I wanted them to read it because I knew.
But your first thing was, hey, I need to tell you something, or heads up, I need to call. You just sent the link?
Well, they were on the plane. I couldn't call them.
We were in the car.
But
you were super busy.
I think we were dealing with ABC.
Yes.
We were dealing with PR. We were dealing with lawyers. We were dealing with.
I can't imagine your parents getting a message, say, hey, read this, and then no kind of follow up or no.
You need to read this before you land in New York.
Oh, she did that dramatic thing. Oh.
Well, she also went dun dun dun.
Oh my gosh!
You did this to me the other day on the phone. You have a flair for the dramatic.
I do. I have some very visceral emotional reactions sometimes to things that don't necessarily fit what's actually happening. In this case, it was warranted.
I did not know that they were alerted just by a link versus, hey, mom and dad need to tell you something, blah, 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 blah. And here is the link that just came out. Here's a link. Read this before you land.
I mean, did I give you a warning saying something awful's happened?
Something awful has happened, and I need you to read this before you come. So it was like, oh no,
Yes.
So my dad always told us to when we were growing up, do not react, act. Don't react to somebody, act. Make a decision on how you want to respond to somebody, and you do the acting. And that always kind of stuck with us. And by the way, dear, I'm sorry I gave you all the dramatic flair, because it came from me, and everything you're saying reminds me of me. Just ask
Does
Dad.
it get better, Mom? Does it get better when you get older? Do you learn how to control and curb that?
I don't know. Do you really want to?
Huh? So you are at this point.
Keeps it interesting.
Did you all once, like you said, Papa Robach, thought it was too fast, and all that makes sense. But were you surprised that she was dating me, not as a co-anchor, but okay, I could understand. Were you totally shocked that the two of us would end up dating?
Well, we could see your on-camera chemistry, and we had spent enough time with you all that, we knew that you guys were in sync in a lot of ways. I think the romantic part was a little bit of a shock. I mean, I didn't see it coming, and maybe it's just me. I mean, I'm old and I don't see that well all the time. So, but it was, I think, at the time surprising. But again, one of those things when you take a step back and you think about it and you look at your on-camera chemistry and, the time we spent with you, it wasn't surprising after you thought about it.
And also what you've been going through, Amy. So that also was like, yep, it all fit.
Yes, Mom and Dad knew. I mean, look, there were only a few people, we've talked about this, who knew what was happening in my private life, and you all had front row seats. And so I would say Nikki and the two of you, my best friend Nikki, who has been on the podcast, had front row seats in a way that no one else did. I was very good at putting out a certain image and a certain front, which I've talked about, which is an awful way to live, because you're not living your truth and you're projecting or presenting what you wish was the case versus what actually is the case.
Or protecting yourself in some ways.
Yeah. And it's ego. It's a lot of things. You know, it's not like all altruistic or something. I mean, it definitely, I don't want people to know my mess. I don't want people to know. I want people to think things are good. But you all did have a front row seat for a very long time. And so you were very supportive about my decisions. I just didn't let you in on what was happening and developing between TJ and me. But Mom, you even said, you always saw our friendship. And I know you always spoke, and you guys always spoke highly of it. You all loved watching us on television together.
And real chemistry.
We would go out to lunch with you, and we definitely spent time with you just as friends before any of this all happened. So I don't know. I mean, I know you all have had, like I said, a real insight into my life and who I am and the right person for me. I don't know if you ever even thought about who that would be or what that person would look like or be like or seem like. What do you like? And you haven't spent a ton of time with us as a couple, but we're coming up on our 2 years here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, gift time, TJ.
That was a hint. But yeah, in August, it'll be, end of August will be 2 years since we've been, that we made a decision to have a relationship. And we did make that decision. So, what do you see? What do you think? How do you, let me ask you this. How do you think I am now? How have I changed? And how would you describe me now?
That's easy. You're so much more settled. You're also so much more happy. I mean, you're just happy. I haven't seen you happy in quite a while. So, yeah, you're a happy person. You have a glow about, that sounds corny, but you do. And when you talk, you have fewer friends, but the friends you have are the friends you need and the right ones when you go through something like that. But yeah, you're just more carefree, happy, you're giggly, you're in love, I can see it. So.
Do you remember saying that was at your birthday? There was a birthday in
August
last summer then, right?
Yep, it was like right at about a year.
When we were down in Athens, after the dinner we had down there, it was outside, wasn't it? I heard you say, you said, I got my Amy back. You said that, I got my Amy back. And I didn't fully comprehend what that meant at the time, but you went on and were speaking about how she's a different type of joy from her child, your child. You talked about her in that way that night. I'll never forget that.
Now you're going to make me cry.
No.
We've got tissues. I've already dabbled a few.
Oh.
No, I'm sure I said that because that's exactly how I felt because we lost you for a while. I mean, we would stay in touch, but it was you were very guarded and we could feel it. So, yeah, it was so lovely to have our daughter back.
Yeah, there's a sense of freedom, I think, and a sense of contentment that you didn't have before. It seemed like, and we talked about this earlier, you always seemed to be searching for something, and maybe that was going places and searching for something. Well, it seemed to us that you found it.
Yeah.
And that contentment and that joy was coming back, to when you were younger.
It's one of those amazing things when I've always seen your relationship, and it's not perfect at all.
Oh, it is. It's perfect.
Oh, come on.
But I've always seen this, like you all are a team. And I've always wanted a teammate. And I've always seen that, like through all the tough times, you guys stick together. Even when Eric and I would try to divide and conquer, like we wanted to get what we wanted. It never worked. You guys were rock solid. It wasn't, go ask your mom or go ask your dad. It was, what did your mom say? What did your dad say? And then you always backed each other up, even if you disagreed about it and talked about it behind, closed doors. In front of us, you were a solid front. And I think maybe I was so spoiled or like always wanted that and could never, it's hard to find a teammate. It's hard to find someone who you can, especially when you've got kids and crazy lives, like to not have that person who you can count on to back you up. I think that I saw that in you too. And talk about safety, that's part of it, right? Knowing you've got that person who's going to back you up. So interestingly, like being with TJ as his friend, but being his co-anchor and going around the world and traveling and really doing complicated, stressful things with him and knowing he had my back always and I had his on the air, like we're talking just professionally speaking. It built something that I saw in you were like, this is the person who I can count on, who isn't going to throw me under the bus, who isn't going to, do anything to undermine me or us. And so I always recognized that in you. And I think that is one of the things I was searching for. And I filled up my life with lots of friends and lots of parties and and I do love to dance and I do love music and I do love it's nothing that I wasn't not being myself, but I was searching for maybe I couldn't find a person, but I was trying to find people.
Right.
Where I could have a tribe, where I could have that support. I was looking for that. And I found it.
What's that like? Is it different for a dad than a mom watching you're hearing her say it now, but when you watch your daughter go through that or express it now, it's like dads, I got little girls, and Sabine's 11. You always feel like some kind of a protector.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of a natural feeling. But I would say that the philosophy we had in raising both of our kids was to prepare them to go out in life on their own and providing that foundation and that moral compass, if you will, to go out and to live your life and not to be dependent, but to know that we're there, we love them, and to be supportive, but not to enable. So it's very difficult when things like that happen and you don't have any control. And that's part of being a parent, is being able to let go of that control, but still try to have influence in the way that you live your life and the way that, we've lived our lives together as an example.
And I think if you look at both your parents and my parents raised us like that. There were so many kids, I don't think my parents had a choice. But it was, we knew what to do. We knew what we were supposed to do. We needed to get, first of all, you turn 16, you need to get a job. So there were certain expectations that were there in my family, my parents, and in Mike's parents, and we were raised pretty much the same way. So I think you just kind of go on autopilot, and that's where you turn to your examples in life.
Something she said to me, she said, you all were always, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but growing up, they made clear that they put themselves and their relationship first. Like, you are kids, yes, but it was something, that was the way you
100%.
put it, that this relationship, our marriage is what's first and you kids are.
Yes. I think they kind of said that. Like, we love you, and we will always love you, but we come first. Our marriage comes first. Our marriage comes before, and that was, it sounds, I think people might hear that and say, what? But it actually was comforting to us as kids. Like, I knew my place, first of all.
Did you, though?
Well, I pushed as much as I could, but.
And then some.
Yes. But I don't hear many people say, yes, I was the problem child, and obviously I've continued the theme. But I don't think you hear many people say that they put their marriage ahead of, like, not that you're, like, not loving your kids, but if there's
is that when you go on
hierarchy-
vacation for like a month and just leave you guys?
No, you all were always there and structured. But it was just like, our marriage is the most important thing in this family unit.
Well, I think people have to recognize, husbands and wives need to recognize that they have their kids for maybe 18 to, 23 years, and then they're adults.
Then they're gone and they never come
and
to
they're on
visit
their
you.
own.
It's really
yeah, and they may come and see you, and they may not.
Even though I've got this huge meal prepared, it's like we just stand there and wait for somebody to come.
And we're always looking out the window,
Where are they? Where'd they go?
But no, I think that's true. I mean, 52 years versus, 18 to 23 years.
Point.
I mean, and the 52 years are, they're mounting up. We're going to continue on. So yeah, so we love one another. We are partners, and we've always been partners, and that has to come first. And I think that sets an example for your children then too, on what their expectations should be.
We still loved and do now love our children unconditionally, 100%.
You've proven that.
My last thing, of course, we have to do. She knows where I'm going already. You said that she was the problem child and then some.
I never said that.
No, he did.
Dad just said and then some.
You did.
It's okay. I take it.
And part of the problem child was, right, she has a flair for the dramatic, as you described. But part of her being dramatic, one of her go-tos was the slamming of the door. She was so you take. When did she start this as a kid, and it continued up to a point, and we're going to take it up to that point. But why was this a thing of hers, slamming doors?
It was her way of showing that maybe we weren't in charge, that maybe she was in charge, and it was maybe a control thing for her. And it was one of those, I think, emotional reactions instead of an intellectual reaction.
Yes.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
And usually it's geared toward which one of us?
I don't know. I think. Who do you think it was, Mom?
I know who it was because you and your dad would get into some argument, some silly. I mean, he had you grounded in college.
Yeah,
which is like that's not going to work.
I was grounded on my 16th birthday, and I think I got grounded for up to 6 weeks. Like, and when you grounded me, you did not go, oh, you know what? Never mind. You can go to the party. It was 6 weeks. Like, you would not back down. If you punished me, you followed through.
What was usually her offense that got her grounded?
Well, this particular offense, there were a couple of things. One, she had a bedroom up at the top floor of the house that was all by itself, a bedroom and a bathroom. So it was up by itself, and she moved up there and had a telephone in her room. And she figured out something, I don't know what it was, with call waiting so that she could take the phone off the hook and then people would call and
I can tell you what I did.
something.
I worked at a party supply store. I knew it was closed. So, and I knew I had a plan for friends to call. This is what we had to do when we didn't have cell phones and texting, and I wanted to meet up and probably sneak out of the house because I was grounded. So I would set up I don't know how I set up a time I knew they'd probably call me after like 11 or midnight when I was clearly not allowed to be on the phone. So I would just take my phone and call my work, and it would just ring incessantly. And then as the rings would go, eventually someone would go beep and call in, and I could click over and go, hey, and you all would not know that anyone called the house.
Pretty good.
Christ on sale.
Pretty ingenious. But so she also then would always close the door and keep the door closed. And we kept saying, no, you need to have...
And lock it.
And lock it. So no, open the door, keep the door open. You don't need to be closing the door all the time. And I think at one point... she said, okay, fine. And she walked back in the room and just slammed the door shut. Boom. Just slammed it shut.
Hmm.
And so I went up there and made her open and close the door. I don't know if it was 100
I
times.
think it was 100. I thought it was 50.
It could have been 50, could have been 100.
It was a lot.
It was from my mother, so I passed that on as punishment because I evidently was a door slammer as well.
Oh,
So-
Mama
Runs in the family.
Robachs.
Runs in the family.
I'm not even mad at you anymore, babe. It's not
my
your
fault.
fault.
It's not my
Well,
fault.
so
I
Amy
inherited it.
It's all
would
DNA.
open and close the door and get up,
49 times.
49, and on the 50th one, she would just take it and slam it shut.
So eventually,
So I then decided to come up with my tools and remove the door. So we removed the phone jack and we removed the door.
Oh!
yes.
How
that
old
happened.
was this child at the time?
16, 17 maybe? Yeah.
16, 17.
16.
Did she
16.
ever get the door back in her high school days?
think
after
so.
That? Yeah.
Yeah, I think eventually. It may have been 6 months.
It was a while.
Whoa.
It was a long time.
Did you
And-
slam it again? Ever?
No, I did not. I did learn the lesson. I will say that much. But I think a lot of our problems and me getting grounded for extended periods of time was because I talked back.
Absolutely.
My dad would say, don't say another word. I was like, I'm going to say it anyway. And then he's like, okay, now you have another week. And I'm like, really? Let's just keep going. My dad's like, okay, let's make it 2 weeks. And so it would that's what would happen. And I would, and my brother would look at me and go, you are so dumb. Just stop talking. Like, he's like, why do you do that to yourself?
It would spiral out of control. You had this sense of you wanted justice for what you felt justice should be. And that's not the way it works.
I lost.
You were just as stubborn as
Oh,
he.
I
the two of you were like,
definitely
wow,
very
I have to
stubborn.
back out of this one.
I got
Okay.
my emotional, dramatic flair from you, and I got my stubbornness from Dad. See, not my fault.
Thanks, guys. This is it does wonders for us at home. Jeez. No, I've heard that Hinge story for so long. I have one question about is she counting out loud? Are you watching her while she's doing it? Or
No, we could just hear. She had to
she
count
has to
them
count
out loud.
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
2.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
49 and then 50. Bam.
Bam.
Uh-huh,
I
yeah.
have to say it felt really good.
Still to this day, she still feels like that's justice.
She'd do it again. She'd do it again.
I kind of might do it again.
Jesus.
Oh, and then my oldest Ava inherited it too. So yes, it's been passed along.
So again, you all are in town now because actually it's party time. We are Annalise. Her graduation is her high school graduation. You all are in town for that. I know that's a good time and a family time. There's a lot being planned, and I know it's a lot you all are looking forward to. And I know you all have been through a lot the past year and a half, and yeah, I had a hand in a lot of what you've gone through, your family's gone through, and what your daughter's gone through. And for that, I apologize. Never meant that to be the case, obviously, but I love this one. I've loved her for a long time. I love her in a different way now, but you all have been around. I'm saying it here on mic. You all have talked to me. This isn't new to you all now, but I will say it here that it is really, really settling and lovely to be in the place we all are now, given where we all were a year and a half ago. The fact that as I think you all know, I've been hanging out with the girls and cutting up, and just the fact that we're all together in this way now, that so much of the storm has passed, is a big deal. So it's great to even be able to sit here on microphones and talk to you guys with smiles on your faces.
Same here.
Going to lunch and having a good time. So.
Who's picking up the tab?
Well, him. No, we've been through this. It didn't go. So that might be one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my relationship with your parents is I paid the bill when we went to dinner, and your dad didn't like that.
Well, he got you back.
Well, I already called ahead to the restaurant.
Thank you guys. And if I know I've said it to you privately, but I would like to say it publicly. Thank you. Thank you for being the most amazing parents through an unimaginably tough time. And just knowing that you stood by my side no matter what. That was everything. So thank you.
Oh, honey, I don't even, it's just you know how you feel about your children. You die for them. You would. So that's how we felt. And I'm going to stop talking so I don't cry.
We love you.
We love you.
And I think that says it all. We love you, and we'll continue to love you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I know it's not exactly in your wheelhouse, so thank you. We appreciate it.
It is now.
Oh, repeat guest. We got it. Once a year. Update with the Robachs.
Last season, millions tuned into the Betrayal podcast to hear a shocking story of deception. I'm Andrea Gunning, and now we're sharing an all-new story of betrayal. Justin Rutherford. Doctor, father, family man. It was the perfect cover to hide behind.
Detective Weaver said, "I'm sure you know why we're here." I was like, what in the world is going on?
Listen to Betrayal on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
More better. Hey, I'm Melissa Fumero.
And I'm Stephanie Beatriz. You may know us from television.
9-9. And now we're here with our very own podcast, More Better with Stephanie and Melissa.
Join us as we take on topics like listening to yourself,
The challenge of self-care.
and making friends as an adult.
We're going to share our struggles.
We're going to speak to experts.
And we're going to share everything we learn with you.
Listen to More Better with Stephanie and Melissa on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Rachel Martin. You probably know how interview podcasts with famous people usually go, right? There's a host, a guest, and a light Q&A. On NPR's new podcast, Wildcard, we have ripped up the typical script. It's part existential deep dive and part game show. I ask actors, artists, and comedians to play a game using a special deck of cards to ask some of life's biggest questions. Listen to NPR's Wildcard on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.